Ethan Carter sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the blank canvas propped against the wall of his small San Francisco apartment. The late evening sun filtered through the window, casting a warm glow that danced across the room. He had always found solace in painting, but tonight his mind was elsewhere. He picked up his phone, scrolling through social media aimlessly when a notification caught his eye. It was a message from Liam Hayes. "Hey, can we meet up after everyone's asleep? I need to talk to you." Ethan's heart raced at the thought of Liam. They had been friends for a while now, bonding over shared interests and late-night conversations that often lingered into the early hours. But there was something more between them, an unspoken tension that had been building ever since they first met at a mutual friends gathering. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that tonight could change everything. He glanced at the clock. It was still early, but he felt a mix of excitement and anxiety bubbling within him. What could Liam want to discuss? The thought sent his mind spiraling into possibilities. Was it about their friendship, or perhaps something deeper? Ethan shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts. He needed to focus on what was in front of him. After a quick shower and a change into a comfortable hoodie and jeans, Ethan took a deep breath and headed out into the cool San Francisco night. The streets were alive with the sounds of laughter and music as he made his way to Liam's apartment. The city felt electric, each corner filled with possibilities. As he approached Liam's building, he felt a flutter of nerves in his stomach. He had never seen Liam outside of their usual hangouts. Always casual, always friendly, but tonight felt different. Ethan knocked on the door, and it swung open almost immediately. "Hey." Liam greeted him with that signature smile that always made Ethan's heart skip a beat. "I'm glad you came." "Of course," Ethan replied, trying to sound casual despite the butterflies in his stomach. "What's up?" Liam stepped aside to let him in, and Ethan entered the cozy apartment filled with eclectic decor, posters of classic movies, plants spilling from shelves, and an inviting aroma of something delicious wafting from the kitchen. "I made some pasta," Liam said as he gestured toward the dining table set for two. "I figure we could eat first." Ethan smiled, feeling warmth spread through him at Liam's thoughtfulness. They settled down at the table, sharing stories and laughter over dinner. Every moment felt charged with an energy that made Ethan acutely aware of how much he cared for Liam. After dinner, they moved to the rooftop terrace where fairy lights twinkled against the night sky. The view was breathtaking. San Francisco sprawled beneath them like a glittering jewel. They poured glasses of wine and leaned against the railing, enjoying the cool breeze that swept through. "So," Ethan began, trying to keep his voice steady as he sensed the seriousness in Liam's demeanor. "What did you want to talk about?" Liam took a deep breath, his expression shifting from playful to contemplative. "I've been thinking a lot lately about us." Ethan's heart raced as he turned to face Liam fully. This was it, the moment he had both longed for and feared. Before Liam could continue, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and glanced at the screen, frowning slightly before looking back at Ethan. "Sorry," he said with an apologetic smile. "It's David." Ethan felt a pang of disappointment, but masked it with a nod as Liam answered the call. He tried to focus on the city lights below, but found himself lost in thought again. David was one of their mutual friends who had always seemed interested in Ethan. Liam's voice broke through his reverie as he ended the call. "Sorry about that," he said sheepishly. "You want to know if we were free for brunch tomorrow?" "Right," Ethan replied quietly, feeling a mix of emotions swirling within him. They stood in silence for a moment before Liam spoke again, this time softer. "I really wanted to tell you how much you mean to me tonight." Ethan looked into Liam's eyes. They held a depth that made him feel seen in ways he had never experienced before. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, they were interrupted by laughter echoing from below, a group of friends celebrating on one of the nearby rooftops. The moment slipped away like sand through fingers, leaving Ethan with an ache of longing mixed with uncertainty. He wanted nothing more than to bridge that gap between them, but felt trapped by circumstances beyond his control. As they stood together under the stars, both men were left hanging on unspoken words, each waiting for just the right moment to reveal their true feelings. The night stretched on, filled with laughter and shared stories, but there was an undercurrent of tension that neither could ignore. a promise of something more lingering just out of reach. The next day, Ethan woke up to the soft light filtering through his curtains, the remnants of last night's conversation still swirling in his mind. He sat up in bed, the sheets tangled around him, and replayed the moments spent with Liam on the rooftop. The way Liam had looked at him, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. It all felt so significant. Yet, the interruption from David loomed over him like a dark cloud. After a quick shower and breakfast, Ethan decided to take a walk to clear his head. The streets of San Francisco were alive with energy. People bustled about, and the sound of street performers filled the air. But as he walked, his thoughts kept drifting back to Liam and David. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was caught in a web of emotions that were becoming increasingly complicated. Later that afternoon, Ethan met Maya at their favorite cafe. She was already seated at their usual table, her laptop open and a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. As soon as she saw him, she closed her laptop and leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Okay, spill it. How was last night?" she asked, a teasing smile on her face. Ethan hesitated for a moment before launching into the details of his evening with Liam. How they had shared dinner and wine under the stars. How Liam had almost confessed something important. Maya listened intently, nodding along as he spoke. And then David called. Ethan concluded with a sigh. It felt like everything I want to say got lost in that moment. Maya frowned slightly. "That's tough, but you have to talk to Liam again. Don't let this slip away." "I know," Ethan replied, running a hand through his hair. "But what about David? He's my friend too." "Friendship doesn't mean you have to ignore your feelings," she said firmly. "You deserve to be happy." Ethan appreciated Maya's perspective, but felt torn between loyalty and desire. They finished their coffees and chatted about lighter topics, but Ethan couldn't shake off the heaviness in his heart. As evening approached, he received a text from Liam. "Hey, want to come over? I have something I want to show you." Ethan's heart raced at the thought of seeing Liam again. He quickly replied with an enthusiastic yes, and prepared himself for what might come next. When he arrived at Liam's apartment later that night, he found the door slightly ajar. He knocked gently before stepping inside. The familiar scent of fresh paint and would fill the air as he entered. "Hey, in here," Liam called out from the living room. Ethan followed the sound of his voice and found Liam sitting on the floor surrounded by canvases and paint supplies. His hair was slightly tousled, and he wore an old band t-shirt that hugged his frame just right. "What are you working on?" Ethan asked, genuinely curious. Liam looked up with a grin. "I've been inspired by your art. I thought I'd try my hand at painting." He gestured to a canvas that was half covered in vibrant colors. Ethan knelt beside him, impressed by what he saw. "This is amazing. You have talent." "Thanks, but I'm not as good as you," Liam replied modestly. Ethan felt warmth spread through him at the compliment, but also a pang of realization. Liam was so talented in his own right, but often didn't see it. They spent some time painting together, laughter filling the room as they playfully splattered paint on each other. After a while, they settled down on the couch with drinks in hand, both feeling more relaxed than earlier. The atmosphere shifted subtly as they began discussing their dreams and aspirations. "I've always wanted to travel," Liam said wistfully, "to see places that inspire me like your paintings do." "Where would you go?" Ethan asked, leaning closer. "Anywhere, really. Paris for the art scene or Japan for its culture," Liam replied with excitement in his eyes. Ethan couldn't help but admire how passionate Liam was about life. It made him want to share more than just dreams. It made him want to share his heart. "Liam," Ethan started hesitantly, feeling his pulse quicken. "About last night," I wanted to say. Before he could finish, there was another interruption, a loud knock on the door followed by David's voice calling out cheerfully from outside. "Liam, are you home? Let's go grab some food." Ethan felt his heart sink as he exchanged glances with Liam. The moment they had been building towards slipped away once again. "Just a minute," Liam shouted back before turning to Ethan with an apologetic look. "Sorry about this." "It's fine," Ethan said, trying to mask his disappointment. "I should probably head out anyway." "No, stay," Liam insisted suddenly, urgency in his voice. "Let's just Let's just tell him we're busy. Ethan hesitated, but then nodded slowly. They both knew that this moment was important enough to protect from outside interruptions. David knocked again and called out playfully, "Come on, I am Stadovin." Ethan spent the next few days in a haze of confusion and anticipation. The moments with Liam replayed in his mind like a favorite song on repeat, but the unresolved tension gnawed at him. Every time he saw David, he felt a pang of guilt. Their friendship was important to him, but so were his feelings for Liam. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing at a crossroads, and every choice he made could lead him down a different path. That on Saturday afternoon, Ethan decided to visit the local art gallery. He often found inspiration in the work of others, and today felt like the perfect day to immerse himself in creativity. As he wandered through the exhibits, he lost himself in the colors and textures of the paintings around him. Each piece told a story, just as he hoped to tell his own through his art. After spending hours admiring the works of various artists, Ethan stepped outside into the warm sunlight. He pulled out his phone to check for messages, half hoping to see something from Liam. Instead, there was a text from Maya. "Hey, want to meet up? I have something to tell you." Curiosity piqued. Ethan replied quickly, agreeing to meet her at their usual cafe. When he arrived, Maya was already seated at a corner table, her expression serious yet excited. "Hey, what's going on?" Ethan asked as he slid into the seat across from her. Maya leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I have news. You know how I've been trying to set you up with someone?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, unsure where this was headed. "Yeah, well," she continued, "I think I might have found someone perfect for you. He's sweet, funny, and really into art." Ethan felt his heart sink slightly. "Maya, I appreciate it, but I'm not really looking to date anyone right now." Maya frowned but pressed on. "I get that, but hear me out. This guy is really great. And honestly, I think you need to get out there more." Ethan sighed heavily. "It's complicated right now. There's someone I'm interested in, someone I can't stop thinking about." Maya's eyes widened with interest. "Who is it? Is it Liam?" Ethan hesitated for a moment before nodding slowly. "Yeah, it is." "Wow, why didn't you say anything sooner?" she exclaimed, her excitement palpable. "What's stopping you?" "I don't know," Ethan admitted, feeling vulnerable under her gaze. "There's also David. He likes me too." Maya leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms thoughtfully. "You can't let that hold you back from what you really want. You deserve to be happy." "I know," Ethan replied quietly, "but I don't want to hurt anyone." Maya reached across the table and squeezed his hand reassuringly. "You're not responsible for other people's feelings. Just be honest with them and with yourself." Ethan appreciated her support, but still felt weighed down by uncertainty. They finished their coffee and chatted about lighter topics, but Ethan's mind remained preoccupied with thoughts of Liam and David. Later that evening, Ethan returned home and found himself staring at his canvas again. Inspiration struck him like lightning as he grabbed his brushes and began to paint furiously, vivid colors swirling together as he poured his emotions onto the canvas. Each stroke felt cathartic. It was as if he were channeling all his confusion and longing into this piece. As night fell and exhaustion set in, Ethan stepped back to admire his work, a beautiful abstract piece that captured the tumultuous feelings swirling within him. It was raw and honest. It felt like a reflection of his heart. Just then, his phone buzzed again. This time it was Liam asking if they could meet up later that night for a walk along the waterfront. Ethan's heart raced at the thought of seeing Liam again. He quickly replied with an enthusiastic yes and prepared himself for what might come next. When they met at the waterfront later that evening, the moon hung low in the sky, casting a silvery glow over everything around them. The sound of waves lapping against the shore created a soothing backdrop as they walked side by side. "Thanks for coming," Liam said after a few moments of silence. "Of course," Ethan replied, feeling both nervous and excited. They walked in comfortable silence for a while before Liam finally spoke again. "I've been thinking about what we talked about last week about us." Ethan's heart raced as he turned to face Liam fully. This was it, the moment he'd been waiting for. "I think we need to talk about what's happening between us," Liam continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Ethan nodded slowly, trying to find the right words amidst the whirlwind of feelings inside him. I want that too, he admitted finally. Liam took a deep breath before continuing. I've liked you for a long time now, longer than I probably should have. He paused as if weighing his next words carefully. But then there's David. Ethan felt a rush of guilt wash over him at the mention of David's name. I care about David too, he confessed quietly. He's my friend. I get that, Liam said softly but firmly. But I can't ignore how I feel about you anymore. The air between them crackled with tension as Ethan searched for clarity amidst his conflicting emotions. What do we do now? He asked hesitantly. Liam stepped closer, their faces inches apart under the moonlight. We figure out together, he said simply. In that moment, everything else faded away. The worries about David and their friendship dissipated like mist in the morning sun. All that mattered was standing here with Liam, feeling an undeniable connection that had been building between them for so long. Before Ethan could respond or even think further about their situation, Liam leaned in and kissed him gently. A soft brush of lips that sent sparks flying through Ethan's entire being. That it was everything Ethan had dreamed it would be, sweet yet electrifying. And when they pulled away slightly breathless, all doubts seemed to vanish in a thin air. I've wanted to do that. Forever, Liam admitted with a shy smile. Me too, Ethan replied breathlessly as they stood together under the stars, two souls entwined by fate. Ethan realized that this was just the beginning of something beautiful and transformative. The days following that magical night felt like a whirlwind for Ethan. The kiss with Liam had ignited something deep within him, a spark of hope that he had longed for but never fully embraced. Yet, beneath the exhilaration lay a layer of anxiety. He knew they had to navigate the complexities of their feelings, especially with David in the picture. Ethan found himself lost in thought during his daily routine, often daydreaming about Liam's smile and the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his passions. They spent more time together, going for walks, painting side by side, and sharing laughter that echoed through the air like music. Each moment felt like a step closer to something beautiful. But Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a tightrope point one afternoon. While Ethan was working on a new painting in his studio, he received a text from Liam. Hey, can we talk? I have something important to discuss. Ethan's heart raced. The tone of the message felt serious, and he couldn't help but worry about what it might mean. He quickly replied, agreeing to meet at Liam's apartment later that evening. He made his way over. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. What could Liam want to talk about? Was he having second thoughts? The questions swirled around him like leaves caught in a gust of wind. When he arrived at Liam's place, he found him pacing back and forth in the living room, looking both anxious and excited. As soon as Ethan stepped inside, Liam stopped and turned to face him. Hey, thanks for coming, Liam said, his voice slightly shaky. Of course, Ethan replied, trying to read Liam's expression. What's going on? Liam took a deep breath and gestured for Ethan to sit down on the couch. I've been thinking a lot about us, about what we want moving forward. Ethan nodded, feeling a mix of anticipation and dread. Yeah, me too. I really care about you, Liam continued, his eyes earnest. But I also don't want to hurt David. Ethan felt a pang in his chest at the mention of David's name. I know. It means a lot to me too. Liam ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I just don't want us to be this secret thing. I want to be open about how I feel about you. Ethan's heart swelled at Liam's words, but also felt heavy with the weight of their situation. I want that too, he admitted quietly. But how do we do that without hurting David? Liam sighed deeply, sitting down beside Ethan and leaning forward as if searching for answers in the floorboards beneath them. Maybe we need to talk to him, be honest about everything. Ethan's stomach twisted at the thought of confronting David. They had been friends for years. How could he possibly explain this new dynamic without causing pain? What if it ruins our friendship? He asked softly. It might, Liam said honestly, meeting Ethan's gaze with unwavering intensity. But hiding this isn't fair to any of us. The silence stretched between them as Ethan considered Liam's words. He wanted to embrace this new chapter in his life fully, wanted to explore what it meant to love someone openly, but the fear of losing David loomed large. "Okay," Ethan finally said, determination creeping into his voice. "Let's talk to him." Liam smiled softly at Ethan's resolve, relief washing over his features. "We'll figure out together." As they made plans to meet David later that week, Ethan felt both terrified and liberated by the prospect of honesty. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but keeping secrets felt heavier than any potential fallout. The day arrived when they would confront David. Ethan spent the morning pacing in his apartment, rehearsing what he would say. The days that followed the conversation with David were a mix of relief and heartache for Ethan. The air felt charged with unspoken emotions, and while he was grateful for the honesty they had shared, he couldn't shake the feeling of loss that lingered in the aftermath. David had taken the news with grace, but Ethan could see the pain in his eyes, and it weighed heavily on his heart. Ethan and Liam tried to find moments of joy in their new relationship, but there was an underlying tension that made it difficult to fully embrace their feelings. They spent time together, painting and exploring the city, but every laugh was tinged with the knowledge that David was still processing everything. Ethan often found himself glancing at his phone, half hoping for a message from David, wanting to reach out but unsure of how to do so without reopening wounds. One evening, as Ethan sat at his studio working on a new piece, he received a text from Liam. "Can we talk? I think we need to figure out what's next for us." Ethan's heart raced at the message. He set down his brush and took a deep breath, feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. He quickly replied, agreeing to meet at Liam's apartment. When he arrived, he found Liam sitting on the couch, looking contemplative. The room was dimly lit, and the atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken words. Ethan sat down beside him, trying to gauge Liam's mood. "Hey," Ethan said softly. "Hey," Liam replied, running a hand through his hair. "I've been thinking about everything that happened with David." Ethan nodded, knowing this was an important conversation. "Me too. I feel like we're in this weird limbo right now," Liam continued. "I want to be with you, but I also don't want to ignore what David is going through." Ethan sighed deeply. "I know. I hate that we've put him in this position." Liam looked at Ethan with sincerity in his eyes. "We can't let fear hold us back from exploring what we have together. But I also think we need to give David some space to heal." Ethan felt a pang of guilt wash over him again. "You're right. I just wish things were simpler." Liam reached out and took Ethan's hand gently, grounding him in the moment. "We'll figure it out together," he said softly as they sat there holding hands. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of comfort amidst the uncertainty. He leaned closer to Liam, their foreheads almost touching. "I really care about you," Ethan confessed quietly. "I care about you too," Liam replied, his voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, everything else faded away. The worries about David and the complexities of their situation vanished as they shared a soft kiss that felt like a promise of hope for what lay ahead. After pulling away, Ethan took a deep breath and spoke again. "Maybe we should plan something special for David, something to show him that we still care about our friendship." Liam nodded thoughtfully. "That's a great idea. It might help ease some of the tension." They spent the next hour brainstorming ways to reach out to David. Ideas ranging from inviting him for dinner to planning a fun day out together as friends. As they talked and laughed about their plans, Ethan felt lighter. It was good to focus on something positive amidst the emotional turmoil. Later that week, they reached out to David and invited him over for dinner at Liam's place. They decided to cook together, a way to create an inviting atmosphere filled with warmth and laughter. On the night of the dinner, Ethan arrived early to help Liam prepare. They worked side by side in the kitchen, chopping vegetables and stirring sauces while stealing playful glances at each other. "Do you think he'll be okay?" Ethan asked as he mixed a salad. Liam paused for a moment before answering thoughtfully. "I think he will be once he sees we're still here for him." As they finished cooking and set the table with flickering candles and soft music playing in the background, Ethan felt a flutter of nervous excitement in his stomach. He wanted this evening to be special, not just for David, but for all three of them as they navigated this new chapter together. When David arrived, he looked tentative but greeted them both warmly. "Hey guys, wow, it smells amazing in here." "Thanks. We made your favorite," Liam said with a smile as he ushered David into the cozy dining area. As they sat down to eat, there was an initial awkwardness in the air, like an invisible weight pressing down on them. But as they began talking about lighter topics, favorite movies, and funny memories, the atmosphere gradually shifted. Ethan watched as David began to relax. Laughter bubbled up between them as they reminisced about old times. It felt good to share those moments again. It reminded Ethan of why their friendship had been so important all along. After dinner, they moved to the living room where Liam suggested playing some board games, a classic way to lighten the mood further. As they settled in with snacks scattered around them and laughter echoing off the walls, Ethan felt hope blooming within him. The games brought out their competitive spirits. Playful banter filled the room as they cheered each other on or teased one another over silly mistakes. For those few hours, it felt like everything was back to normal. Like they were three friends simply enjoying each other's company without any complications lingering overhead. But as the evening drew to a close and David stood up to leave, Ethan sensed an underlying tension returning once more. "Hey," David said hesitantly before heading toward the door. "Thanks for tonight. It really meant a lot." Ethan stepped forward slightly, wanting to bridge any remaining distance between them. "We're here for you," he said earnestly. "No matter what happens." David nodded slowly, but didn't say anything more before stepping outside into the cool night. As soon as he left, Ethan turned toward Liam, who was watching him closely. "Do you think he's okay?" Ethan asked anxiously. "I think so," Liam replied softly but thoughtfully. "It'll take time, but we'll get through this together." Ethan nodded slowly, but couldn't shake off the feeling that their journey was far from over. There were still conversations left unspoken and emotions yet untangled. But standing there with Liam beside him, hands entwined, they both knew that whatever challenges lay ahead would be faced together, their bond growing stronger even amidst uncertainty. The days turned into weeks, and the initial tension following their dinner with David began to fade, but the emotional landscape remained complex. Ethan felt a mix of relief and anxiety as he navigated his new relationship with Liam while still being mindful of David's feelings. They had agreed to give David space, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their friend was still hurting. One evening, as Ethan and Liam were lounging on the couch watching a movie, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message. He picked it up, his heart racing slightly when he saw it was from David. "Hey, can we talk? I'd like to meet up." Ethan exchanged a glance with Liam, who raised an eyebrow in curiosity. "What do you think?" Liam asked. "I think we should," Ethan replied, feeling a mixture of apprehension and hope. "It's time to clear the air." They agreed to meet at their favorite cafe, the same place where they had shared countless laughs and memories. When they arrived, David was already seated at a table in the corner, looking pensive. As Ethan approached, he noticed the way David's eyes flickered with uncertainty. "Hey," Ethan said softly as he took a seat across from him. "Hey," David replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Liam sat down beside Ethan, and for a moment, there was an awkward silence that hung heavily in the air. Ethan could feel the tension radiating from David as he fidgeted with his coffee cup. "I appreciate you guys meeting me," David finally said, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." Ethan nodded, encouraging him to continue. "We're here for you." David took a deep breath before speaking again. "I want you both to know that I'm not angry with you. I think I was just surprised. It's been hard for me to process everything." Ethan felt a wave of relief wash over him at David's words, but also sadness for what had transpired. "I'm really sorry if we hurt you," he said sincerely. "That was never our intention." "I know," David replied, his gaze shifting between Ethan and Liam. "I just need some time to adjust to this new reality." Liam leaned forward slightly, his voice gentle. "We want you to be okay with everything. Your friendship means so much to us." David nodded slowly, looking thoughtful. "I appreciate that. I really do." He paused before continuing. "I've been thinking about how I can support you both moving forward." Ethan felt a lump form in his throat at David's willingness to accept their situation. "That means a lot," he said softly. "I want you both to be happy," David added earnestly. "And if that means being together, then I'll do my best to be okay with it." A silence fell over the table as they all absorbed his words. It was a moment of vulnerability, an acknowledgement of their feelings and the complexities of their friendship. "Thank you for being so understanding," Liam said finally, breaking the silence. "We're still figuring things out too." David smiled faintly, and for the first time since their last conversation, Ethan felt hope blooming in his chest again as they continued talking about lighter topics, favorite movies, and plans for the summer. The atmosphere began to shift from heavy to hopeful. They laughed together as if nothing had changed. It felt good to reconnect. After an hour or so of conversation and laughter, David looked at both of them seriously. "I want us all to stay friends," he said firmly.